Welcome back to Dr. MacLean Explains. My goal is to break down the U.S. healthcare system into understandable parts, to clarify what is the problem with the system, and to talk about how to fix it. In Segment 2, we looked at the history of medical care in the U.S. until 1965, the year Congress enacted Medicare and Medicaid. In Segment 3, we will look at reform movements, starting with Medicare and Medicaid. We will look at why later reforms failed and where that leaves us now. By the early 1960s, nearly all employees were covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. But problems emerged. First, low-wage workers were often not covered by their small businesses, and older retirees were not covered. Costs were going up because prepaid insurance increased patient demand for services. Harry Truman had proposed national health insurance after he surprisingly was reelected in 1948, but the AMA launched a multi-million-dollar publicity campaign to deride the plan as communism and socialized medicine. Truman's public insurance plan failed. The next attempt at reform was successful, the 1965 passage of Medicare and Medicaid. Lyndon Johnson succeeded because coverage targeted the uninsured poor and elderly, leaving the rest of the private for-profit health system unaffected. Senator Teddy Kennedy tried in 1971 to extend Johnson's success to build a single-payer system, and won support from President Nixon. But this plan was derailed by the Watergate scandal. The next attempt came from Bill and Hillary Clinton. After Clinton took office in 1992, Hillary and expert panels devised a plan for universal coverage that included defined essential benefits and pre-existing conditions, with mandated employer insurance and expanded Medicaid. This plan failed because the insurance industry launched a stinging publicity campaign featuring a down-home couple named Harry and Louise. Americans also balked at the tax increases needed to fund it. The Clintons' failure made it necessary to find another solution to rising costs. Managed care, which had first appeared in 1973, became that solution, and it did work, slowing growth to under 6%. But around the year 2000 came a backlash over mammograms and the so-called drive-by deliveries, which undermined the ability of managed care to control costs. What do we make of this history? Here are the main takeaways that help us understand our present system. First, there has always been a tension between the profit motive in the free marketplace and health promotion motive. Second, Americans have given special treatment to the health industry in return for medical advances. And third, powerful vested interests, doctors, hospitals, insurance, drug companies, have often used polemics and ideological arguments to defend their favored status, not necessarily actual health outcome arguments. So this leaves the U.S. with the largest, most expensive healthcare system in the world. In 2011, shown here, it took in payments of $2.7 trillion, mostly private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and out-of-pocket. The figure for 2015 was $3.2 trillion, representing 1/6 of the entire economy. Government's share of payments was almost 50% in 2015. This graph shows the dollars spent in 2011, mostly on hospitals, doctors, drugs, long-term care. Remember that 25% of this pie graph actually goes to administrative costs, not medical services. In defense of U.S. healthcare in 2012, then House Speaker John Boehner and then Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell famously said, "The U.S. has the finest healthcare system in the world," and further that wealthy foreigners flock to the U.S. because of its cutting-edge facilities. However, the World Health Organization rates the U.S. 15th in performance, life expectancy and delays in care, and only 37th in overall attainment, including financial and service fairness. In 2015, the Kaiser Foundation compared the U.S. with 10 other developed countries. Here are their results, showing areas in which the U.S. is better, equal, or lacking. Here are the Commonwealth Fund's 2011 rankings. The U.S. is in the middle of the pack in most areas, but dead last on several others and on overall rank. What about those foreigners flocking for care? Well, this pertains to highly specialized treatments available only in certain centers such as Mayo, Cleveland Clinic, or Hopkins. Some centers in Florida and Texas do market to wealthy foreigners who pay the full charge in cash, not discounted insurance rates like the rest of us. Boehner and McConnell pointed to Canadians coming to Michigan hospitals, but the Commonwealth study found that Canada is worst in timeliness. So, not surprising, even though Canada did rank ahead of the U.S. in other measures. The further truth is that according to Centers for Disease Control, 750,000 Americans go abroad each year for medical treatments, such as for holistic care or dental care, but mostly seeking lower cost. In the next segment, we will talk about cost, namely how the rising cost of healthcare is affecting our economy, our politics, our society, and some say our very existence. I'll see you then.